Hi guys, welcome back to another video. The Cat Still Gathering tournament has finally come to an end, and let me tell you, when I first finished my 35 games, I was number 4 on the leaderboard. Right now I'm number 18, so unfortunately I won't be moving on to the knockout stages because that's only for the top 16. Anyway, here are 5 of my best / closest games from the tournament, so I hope you enjoy them. Oh yeah, and also they're in order, so without further ado, let's hop right into number 5. So for number 5, we're going up against Ephira here, who's using the Abyss Herald, Azdaha, and Risley. Now this game wasn't too close by any means, but interestingly, it's the only game where I went up against the Abyss Herald. Now in case you don't know, the Abyss Herald counters the Furina Kave combo really well, or the Monarch Kave combo, basically at any Kave deck on round 1. And that's because of its revival, and the fact that it starts on 6 HP. So usually, my Furina plus Kave combo, if I get both blooms off on the same character, it deals 10 damage, which is enough to take out one of their characters in just one round. However, against the Herald, it doesn't do that, and that's because of the 6 HP. So what this does is that both of my blooms will just be wasted on the first life of the Abyss Herald. I mean, you'll see it in a bit. And basically, instead of dealing 10 damage, we waste a lot of damage and we only deal 6. So as you can see here, Furina's thing hits twice, and now the Herald is left on 1 HP, and we're going to deal like 5 damage to this 1 HP Herald. So we just wasted 4 HP worth of damage. And then it just comes back revived. So that's why it really counters Kave really well. On top of that, he also has that talent obviously, which just gives us an inflation. And this inflation affects our elemental skills and bursts, making them cost 1 extra die, which is really bad for us since our deck is completely reliant on elemental skills and bursts. Thankfully, we are okay in the dice department because all our cards exist for tuning. I just take out the Herald here, might as well. And then I believe I use my burst here, because I might as well get my burst scans. And it's not like I can switch either, because if I switch, I won't have enough dice left to attack since, again, I have inflation. I need 4 dice to attack.
So many things.
And they do put out Gamblers, which is kinda scary, so I'm hoping they don't have even more dice. But with just 3 cards left, it's not. They probably don't. They finally switched to Risley here, just so that they don't give me a free bloom on Azdaha, because that would have killed Azdaha. Now Risley is a bit of a pain to deal with, because my Narwhal already has Hydra on it, and so if I switch to my Narwhal will just get frozen straight away. So since I can't switch to my Narwhal, I just normal attack on Furina, hoping for them to switch to Azdaha instead. Now of course they can't switch to Azdaha because I could use my burst and that would trigger Bloom, taking out Azdaha. They can't have that, so they just use their elemental skill on Risley. And now here, instead of using my burst, I actually use my elemental skill. This is to stop them from ending their round on Azdaha, because now if they end their round on Azdaha, my summons will take him out. Whereas if I use my burst, then I mean that just applies Hydro and Risley. It doesn't do much. For some reason they still end their round on Azdaha though. I mean, I guess if they ended their round on Risley, my Narwhal would have taken him out, so perhaps that's even worse. But actually, no, this is just even worse because I still have 2 burst scans, and that means I get 2 Dendro cores to pop simultaneously. Yeah. So the first burst scan happens, and I just tune 1 card and get the second burst scan to hit. And now it's just a 1 HP Risley for me to finish off. GG.
No objections.
Now in number 4, we're going up against Conwhale here. Conwhale is in the deck, not their name. I cannot read their name. In this game, we're actually using the Mona variant, which uses Kusava and Mausoleum as well, and only uses 1 Arcane, which is Passing of Judgment. This version of Kave Bloom is supposed to counter Conwheel better. Well, not counter it better, but more like do better against it. And since I was facing so many Conwheel decks, I actually tried this deck out for a bit, but remember how I said I didn't like have the chance of Kave discarding a cheaper card than 3 dice? That just happened too many times for me, so that's why I eventually switched back to the Furina variant. But anyway, this is one of the rare games where I actually use this deck. So here they switch around to stop me from getting my bloom off.
Come at me.
And since Mona gives you a fast action switch, unlike Furina, I can't stall my turn to get my guaranteed bloom. I mean, they kind of give it to me anyway. But unlike Furina, again, this summon only attacks once, so this combo doesn't actually kill the Scorpion. The plus side, of course, is that Mona has that fast action switch, her summon gives you 1 defense, and we still have Hydro on the Serpent, so we can still trigger Bloom on that guy. Now they switch to the Serpent, and I use Passing of Judgment straight away.
Come at me.
And here, unfortunately, Kave does discard a 0 cost card, which is the Kusava. Now the annoying thing about Conwheel is that Passing of Judgment actually kind of doesn't stop it if they have the Scorpion's Talent card, because every time they use a Bone Cruncher, even though it gets destroyed, they draw another card and they just create another Bone Cruncher, which is so dumb, but yeah. Now they use Adeptus, Temptation and a Burst to take out Kave, of course. But it's not too bad, because we do get some blooms here, although we don't have burst scans. It's okay, Bloom gives +1 damage, it's better than nothing. My damage was kinda lacking there because I don't have enough stacks. Just sad, but now I just have to rush my Whale's Burst. That's just what I'm going for here. And since their Serpent and Scorpion are low on HP and don't have energy at all, both of them are actually essentially useless. Interesting thing to note. Now surprisingly they do pull out a Lotus, so that means now they can actually burst with the Serpent, so it's useful again. I used Legend of Vanessa first, and here I made the mistake of using Countdown to the Show before tuning my cards, because that just turns all my dice into Omni dice, which means I can't tune my cards anymore, which means I can't get stacks on the Narwhal this round. I switched to Mona, not only to tank the burst, but also to just kinda get through this round, because I can't deal damage with the Narwhal when it only has 5 stacks. They don't waste their burst on my Mona, of course, and I finally end the round by just equipping Tenacity on my Narwhal, which will come in handy later on. Now going to the next round, I made sure not to grow for good dice because I want to tune all these cards. And since Countdown to the Show gave me so many cards, I get to tune a ton of them and get so many stacks on my Narwhal. I finally send it out, just put this down because might as well, and I'm just going to attack and burst with my Narwhal here. I'm not too worried about the burst because it literally can't even kill my Narwhal. I'm too tanky. And I don't know why, but this guy has Liar Song and Ocean Hue Clam for days. Like, how do you draw all of them at once? Come on. So they heal up their Serpent to a HP that, well, it can't die. Where it can't die to my Dark Shadow. But it's fine, my Dark Shadow will still deal a ton of damage. But first I switched to Mona because obviously I don't want the Narwhal to die. They just end their round. And they give me the Serpent here, which is the right play because Again, now that Serpent's out of energy, it's useless. I don't think they have another Lotus to try and burst again. So they just gave up their Serpent, and now they send out their own Narwhal. Unfortunately for me, their Narwhal does have max stacks for their elemental skill, so now their elemental skill deals 6 damage. Thankfully, Mona does survive on 1 HP, which is huge, because that's an extra hit I can tank. I tune whatever cards I can. I use an elemental skill. They use their elemental skill. And now here I just have to go for my own elemental skill. And here's the thing, if they have enough dice for their elemental burst, I lose here because obviously their burst will deals 1 piercing damage to all standby characters, so that will kill Mona. And then their Dark Shadow will definitely take out my Narwhal first. But I do just kinda have to go for the skill because, I mean, what else am I gonna do? And here I'm just hoping they don't have enough Hydro dice for the elemental burst, because they only started with 2 cards and that means they only need 2 dice, so surely their dice are not that good. And if you take a look here, yeah, they were short of 1 Hydro dice. Unfortunate. But anyway, thanks to that, they're forced to just normal attack, leaving both my characters on 1 HP. And I end my round letting my Dark Shadow do its thing, and I take the win here. So that was a really close game. GG. Now in number 3, we have some good old Kave versus Kave, but it's Furina versus Mona. And yeah, I went back to the Furina variant. Actually, I'm not even sure whether this game was before or after the previous one. But you know what, it's fine. It's Kave versus Kave, and once again I start on the Narwhal, as always. And again, if you're not sure why I start on the Narwhal, I highly suggest that you check out my previous CTG videos, Cat Still Gathering videos. Here they make this really weird play of just switching to Kave straight away.
I knew you'd miss me.
I guess they want to apply Dendro on Narwhal, but it's kinda strange, honestly. Anyway, I just do my own thing, which is just Furina skill, Kave skill, as always. And they end their round on Mona here with their summon up.
Come at me.
Now thanks to their summon, Mona will survive this, because she will tank her summon tanks 1 damage, so she'll be left on 1 HP. It's also another reason why Mona is considered the better Hydro applier, but I don't know, Furina just works better for me. Plus she creates this 1 extra card which allows us to break 3 arcanes. Now they use Passing of Judgment, and here's where I made a pretty big mistake. Okay, they do bloom me, but Kave does survive on 1 HP, so all good, as long as I can get my own one off. And here I made a huge mistake. I thought I could use all of my arcanes to break through the Passing of Judgment stuff, but turns out the moment you use 1 arcane, even if it gets destroyed by Passing of Judgment, you end up using your arcane points, so that does not work. So basically I just wasted my arcanes. So that's terrible.
Come at me.
Anyway, I have to do what I can, so I just tune some dice, tune some cards, tune some dice, or are you tuning dice or the cards? Tune some dice, I think, and then just use my elemental skill. And since I wasted my arcanes, I couldn't even use this to remove their Kave's energy.
So many things I never accomplished.
So obviously this is pretty terrible for me. I tune some cards straight away to make sure my Narwhal doesn't die, and then I normal attack to take out Mona. And they send out their own Narwhal, so I switch to Furina. Because if I stayed on a Narwhal there, they could tune another 3 cards and they would have enough stacks to just deal enough damage to take out my Narwhal. I can't let that happen, so that's why I ended my round on Furina instead, to tank the damage. On top of all that, my dice now suck. Well, isn't that nice? Since I'm on Furina, who has Hydra on her, of course they send out Kave. I first tune all my cards to, my dice, my cards, to get more HP on my Narwhal, and then I switch to it to tank the Dendro attack from Kave. And here I actually normal attack instead of doing an elemental skill, because had I used an elemental skill, Kave would have died. And that means their Narwhal can come out for free and take out my Narwhal. So that's why I normal attacked instead. And now that their Narwhal is out, I just use my burst. Now they can take me out, I think. Yeah. Combined with that, they can take me out. But I mean, I had to go for my burst. And thanks to my burst, I deal a ton of damage here. And bring down their Narwhal to 3 HP. And you might be thinking, but wait, they can still tune their cards for more HP, and Furina only deals 2 damage. Well, you see, I can also end my round to just deal 3 damage right away. So that's exactly what I do, and that's how I take the win. So despite my huge blunder earlier, I still managed to clutch up this victory. GG. Now for number 2, it's a game against Biter's Chi, who was number 1 on the leaderboard at the time. And currently tied, actually not tied, but currently number 4 with 30 wins and 4 losses. They're an insanely good player, so this was definitely one of my more interesting matches. Once again, I start on the Narwhal, and they, the Conwhale players, start on the Serpent. So all textbook stuff. And good for me, I actually start second, because that allows me to stall my turn even more, which is exactly what I want. Not so good for me is the fact that they had Lumenstone Adjuvant in their starting hand, because that gives them so much value early on. But oh well, what can you do about it? I switch to Furina here, and they use Bone Crunch on their Serpent to give it 2 energy, because obviously they want to burst with it round 2. And here they just draw a bunch of cards. I thought they were gonna attack, like maybe they might switch characters and then attack with the Scorpion, but nope. They spend all of their dice on just drawing cards, and they give up their Scorpion here.
Come at me.
So if you're a Conwhale player, just like this guy, make sure to take notes. This is how you play against Furina Kave. Just draw a ton of cards and give up your Scorpion. And since I end my round on Kave, they'll most likely have Adeptus Temptation already, which means they can deal 10 damage with their burst and take out my Kave. But it's not like this is new to me either. I often give up my Kave. Now the reason drawing so many cards works so well for them is simply because of the number of stacks you can give the Narwhal. See, the weakness of Furina Kave is that I can't give my Narwhal as many stacks as they can because I don't have draw cards in my deck. My whole deck is just 3 dice cost cards. Still, I tune what I can to just give myself more HP and more damage, and then I skill on the Serpent. And once again, I'm just going for my burst first. If I can burst before them, I should have a better chance, I imagine. I just attack again, get my second energy, and I just end my round. I make sure to end my round on the Narwhal because I want to switch to Furina next round, because they'll probably switch to their Narwhal, and I want to stall a bit first. Because if I burst too early, they can attack a lot of times and just completely remove my Dark Shadow summon. So I gotta at least stall a bit. Now they start tuning the cards, and as you can see, they already have 11 stacks on their Narwhal. Now they re-equip Maréchal Hunter, which is terrible for me. Just so you know, Maréchal Hunter just pairs really well with the Narwhal, because you just keep getting more dice, more cards, and as you just keep getting more HP on the Narwhal. I used my Arcane at last to stop them from getting another burst off, which might have really destroyed my Furina. Like, if I can avoid them bursting, I will, of course. And now the main problem is that their Narwhal has 21 HP and deals 6 damage per elemental skill. Well, 23 now. So really, what on earth am I supposed to do against that? Because they still have 2 attacks. Of course, I just use my elemental burst, but really, it's not gonna do much against a 22 HP narwhal, especially when my own narwhal is dead. And this is all because they drew so many cards in round 1. So yeah, Conwheel players, just draw as many cards as you can, because it just gives you so many stacks on the narwhal. And once you start dealing 6 damage per elemental skill on an invincible character, you just win. And now my Furina is 5 HP plus 1 defense, which is not enough to even survive 1 hit, so that's GG. Besides, my Furina would need like what, 7 attacks to take out the narwhal? Not happening. I just end my round here because that actually gives me the most damage, surprisingly. And they take out my Furina here. Now finally, in number 1, okay, I can't really specify this game because it's once again against Conwheel. But yes, this is probably my best game in the whole tournament.
Need a hand?
Not my best game, but like the most interesting one. So here I start on Kave instead of the narwhal, because it doesn't matter who I start on since I actually start first this time. And I'm just gonna switch to Furina anyway. I have this habit where like, if I start first, I just start on Kave instead because I just want to give him a chance to see the light of day for once. But anyway, I switch to Furina straight away. Again, to stall my turn. And they stun that Serpent, use that Serpent's elemental skill. The usual stuff. I use my elemental skill. Now they use a Bone Cruncher, get 2 energy. And it's all just the same stuff again.
Take care of this.
I switch to Kave now. And just like the previous guy, Biter's Chi, they also just spend all their dice on drawing cards. Because they understand that what you need to win is stacks on the narwhal. And once they also just give me their Scorpion. So far it's basically the exact same, except this guy has 2 Wharfs instead of whatever Biter's Chi did previously. Oh yeah, they used Countdown to the Show, which might have been worse actually. So this game is actually going slightly better for me, perhaps. Oh well, while I was talking, Scorpion's now dead. And now they're gonna use Adeptus Temptation on there with a burst, take out my Kave, as usual. Unless they don't have Adeptus Temptation, of course. But you already know that's not possible. It's not possible for a Conwheel player to not have Adeptus Temptation on round 2. Because they draw so many cards, it's only natural that they get Adeptus Temptation. Once again, I just send out my narwhal with 6 stacks, 6 pitiful stacks. And I just elemental skill. I make sure to save 2 cards here, other than my Arcane, so that my narwhal doesn't discard my Arcane. And that's why I'm forced to normal attack here. Because if I tune if I tune this card to use an elemental skill, my narwhal would have discarded my Arcane as well. Which I obviously don't want to happen. And it's only 1 less damage anyway, so it's fine. See, the Serpent's still in 1-shot range. All good. I also make sure not to tune too many dice here because I do need to tune my at least 2 cards for another 3 HP. And now out comes the Liar Song plus Veteran's Visage combo. So just if you don't really know Conwheel that well yet, they actually use they actually use Veteran's Visage and Maréchal Hunter instead of Gilded Dreams, simply because of the narwhal's HP gaining ability. So Maréchal and Veteran's Visage just give more dice than Gilded, in addition to drawing cards for you. So it's just clearly better. Anyway, We now have a 12 HP narwhal versus their 15 HP narwhal, and they can still get more stacks, so obviously this isn't too good for us. But we do have more energy. I mean, we do have the Day of Resistance as well. I use my burst here, of course, to get my Dark Shadow up. Gotta get my damage. I just end my round, get my damage off, and honestly this looks winnable so far. And it's all thanks to this. So now I just roll for all Hydro dice, and unfortunately I only get 3 here. Why is this bad, you ask? Because I only have 2 cards. So even if I tune both of these, I can still only use 1 elemental skill, which is terrible. My elemental skill deals 4 damage, which is what I want, and my normal attack only deals 2, which is just trash. So how am I gonna win this? Of course I just tune them anyway, get more HP up, and deal 6 damage to their narwhal, which, I mean, I wish it killed, man. If it killed, it would be great. And of course, it's not like I can end my round to use this and kill it right away, because they're just gonna get more HP now. They have 6 cards, meaning they can get another 6 HP on their narwhal, which is exactly what they do. Well, actually they don't. Wait, did it? You could tune more. Oh, right. So all of their cards have different prices, different costs, so they can't get another 3 HP. I mean, you could get another 1 HP, but that's kind of useless. So they don't tune their cards here, but rather they just use them. Now they go for an elemental skill. Now look at this, if I had an elemental skill, I win here, because I deal, what, 5 damage per skill, and they only have 4 HP. But I only have 2 dice, so I can only normal attack. And so I face the same fate that my opponent in one of my the other matches I showed faced. I just have the normal attack, and they deal just enough damage to take out my narwhal before my Dark Shadow can kill them. An unfortunate defeat, but it's as close as it gets. GG. Also, I used quite a few different versions of Furina Kave in this video, so here is just the most updated version of my deck.